Welcome to the Business Law, Estate Planning, and Estates Podcast.
Hello and welcome back to the Business Law, Estate Planning, and Probate Podcast with attorney Thomas LaPorte. Thomas is the founder of LaPorte Law Group, PLLC, with offices in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, and North Andover, Massachusetts. With more than 25 years of experience, he helps individuals, families, and business owners protect their assets, plan for the future, and navigate estates and business matters with clarity. I'm Lisa Mosby, your host, and today we're talking about how business owners can properly protect their personal assets from liability arising from their company's operations. Welcome, Thomas. Thank you so much for being with me today.
Thanks, Lisa. And let me just say off the top, I've been doing this so long, it's actually been more than 30 years. So I need to update your producer. So nice to be with you, Lisa, and happy to be able to explain how people can protect themselves from business liabilities.
Well, our audience knows they're in good hands. 30 years of experience in the same business. You've seen it all. So let's kick this off with when you're in a meeting with a business owner for the first time, what signs usually tell you whether their business and personal finances are being kept separate in a way that protects them?
The first things I look for, especially with new businesses and newer businesses, is kind of like show me your hands. Show me your business card. Show me the bank accounts you're using. Show me the materials that you hand out to your clients or other business partners. Say it's a distributor, say it's a manufacturer. And I look to see if they designate their companies. Say it's ABC Shipbuilding Company. It should say Inc. or LLC. I look to see how they sign contracts, how they sign estimates and quotes that may be handed out to prospective customers. And it should say you're the owner of the company. It's going to say Lisa Mosby, President, ABC Shipbuilding Company, LLC. So you were there by signing and representing yourself, holding yourself out to the public, other business partners, anybody who might want to sue for whatever reasons that they perceive, failure of performance, failure to deliver, negligent workmanship. There's all sorts of claims out there, right? What you're doing is telling those folks that you're interacting with that you're not dealing with Lisa Mosby. You're dealing with ABC Shipbuilding Company, Inc. So anything that is forward-facing to anybody the company's interacting with, vendors, business partners, consumers, has to represent that you're dealing with the company, not yourself personally. Secondly, and I know it's a long answer, but I'll end it here. The second most important thing is you better have a separate business bank account, checking account. Do not use your own personal checking account. In order to get a business bank account, it's easily done. My office does it for free. Needs its own tax identification number, also known as EIN. And then, of course, the business ought to have the appropriate insurances depending on the activities and what the business does, so that it protects the business, named insured, and also name yourself as an additional insured. But we can get into the insurance a little bit more. But those are the big three, I guess. What stuff you hand out to people you're dealing with, bank accounts, and insurance.
It's the signatures. Yeah, having those signatures correct. So I'm going to throw you a curveball here real quick. If somebody chooses to operate as a sole proprietor, are the rules different because they are operating in their own name? Or do you just say, nope, I advise you not to do that?
I advise them not to do that. It's pretty darn cheap. LLCs were created in the mid-90s, I think beginning in Delaware. And they were specifically designed, limited liability companies, for the small business person. Because corporations are more expensive to form in most states. Massachusetts, for instance, it's $500-something for a corporation to create, and it's only it's a fraction of that. I haven't checked lately. It's either $225 or $100. I'm mixing up New Hampshire, Mass, and Maine, but it's much, much cheaper. Secondly, LLCs do not require an annual minutes, annual meetings of the shareholders and directors, oftentimes small companies, we all wear the same hat. There's two of us. You and I are president, treasurer. We're also the directors, and we're also the shareholders. We have to have a meeting for like a second, document that. Okay, let's adjourn to shareholders. Now we're going to have the directors meeting, document that. Those are called corporate formalities. So the LLC doesn't require any of that. Is it smart to document decisions that the companies are making, say extraordinary purchases over $5,000, for instance, for a small company? Yeah, you should do that with an operating agreement as well, but it's much, much relaxed under the law. So sole proprietorship, not smart at all.
Okay. And some owners form an LLC or a corporation and then assume that that alone shields them. What kinds of everyday decisions can weaken that protection without people even realizing it?
That's a great point, Lisa. It's not like one goes out and obtains her LLC and they bought Batman's cloak or Wonder Woman's cloak and they're protected forever. You have to continue to maintain that LLC in good standing through the state that you're operating in, which means simply filing your annual report with the Secretary of State's office. It's very easy every year to remain in good standing. Otherwise, the state will disregard you, and the effect of that is that you say you're not in good standing the second year. Well, you cannot use that limited liability shield or that corporation shield. You are now effectively exposed yourself. You need to also treat the company as a separate entity. It's your business. It's not Lisa Mosby. It's not Thomas LaPorte. So you got to maintain those business accounts, have the business insurances. For instance, if we use trucks in the business, we need to have commercial vehicle insurance. And don't use our cars, our personal vehicles. That's commingling. Either commingling monies. Don't pay business expenses with your own money. You're just shooting yourself in the foot. And it's a plaintiff attorney is going to be looking for any of those chinks in the armor to say, Lisa didn't treat it like a company, a separate company, so why should we? And Judge, you shouldn't either. Lisa has these personal assets available. That's the argument. So it's pretty simple. You just got to continue to treat it like a separate entity, separate business account, bank accounts. You pay business debts with business funds. Never intermediate. If you loan money to the company, which often happens with small companies, so we're busy. We're doing the work. You really ought to document the loan. Sign it, Lisa Mosby, individually, to Lisa Mosby, president of the ABC Shipbuilding LLC, as the borrower. And perhaps have a promissory note. You're documenting that loan, this separateness. We're not one and the same.
So if we have our business bank accounts, our credit cards, our bookkeeping, they all are playing their part. They're maintaining separation. What habits help keep those systems clear and consistent?
You mentioned bookkeeper, and it's an excellent point. And if a company has payroll, a couple of employees or a few employees, you're paying yourself, for instance, just hire a bookkeeper. They're pretty inexpensive, and they know what they're doing for the most part. You can move on from one if they don't. And you know what they have? They have errors and omissions coverage, professional liability coverage. Make sure they have that. With me, people come to me to form these agreements, help them with these questions, because if I make a mistake, well, they can come back to my professional liability insurance. If you do it on your own, or if you're hire someone that doesn't have that, well, that's not good practice. You're not protecting yourself. So you may pay a little extra for someone that has that coverage, but it's worth it. It's too important not to keep the separateness of your personal life, your personal assets from the business operations and the business assets. I think that answers the question. And so you're just going to be vigilant, maintaining your records with the state, maintaining your standard operating procedures. Payroll should be handled by somebody else, so you're not running into problems with the state or the federal government. You missed a withholding. That's bad news. You don't want to deal with the taxing authorities messing up. There are penalties, there are high interest rates. It's worth every dollar to hire a payroll person. Then insurance, which we can get into in a little bit more detail, ought to be in place at all times.
And moving through each of these, strategically, signature blocks, can they create confusion if they're not used correctly? And what should an owner understand about signing documents in a way that reflects the business, not themselves personally? And you touched on it a little bit, but I'm going to give you a chance to elaborate here.
Yeah, no, it's probably the easiest, but one of the most important uh, uh, aspects of operating a business, whether it's a well-established large business or a startup. And startups, sometimes those persons that are starting up may not be used to signing in a corporate capacity. That's what it's called. So an old partner of mine 25 years ago said, look, I don't care if you sign it, Lisa Mosby, chief cook and bottle washer for ABC Shipbuilding, Inc. Just sign it in some other capacity other than Lisa Mosby, which is signing an individual or personal capacity. So what you want to do is sign Lisa Mosby. Mosby. Uh, um, Actually, you have you put the name of the company, ABC Shipbuilding Company, Inc., by Lisa Mosby, and then underneath that title, president, and then you can put chief cook and bottle washer as well. You're not signing in a personal capacity. The person that's receiving that document or contract or quote, that puts them on notice as a matter of law that they're not dealing with you personally. And if they want to do business with you, they're doing business with the company. And if they want to sue the company and make a claim against it, it's only can go after the company, not Lisa Mosby.
Got it. And then when businesses work with contractors or vendors, how do written agreements help reduce the chance of an owner being pulled into a dispute personally?
You can address all of these topics in advance by putting in writing. And I'll give an example. Any business is going to have general liability coverage. Say it's a design architectural firm. I don't know how to work with them. What I've done before with pretty much a good amount of success is if there's a claim against my client's firm, then we're going to limit the liability for that claim to the amount of available insurance coverage. So whatever insurance we have that covers that peril, say it's negligent workmanship, negligent design, that would be under a professional liability policy or errors or omissions, same thing. Say there's only $300,000 left because we have 5 different contracts going on at the same time. That's what they get. Up to $300,000. If the claim is worth more than say $1 million, well, tough luck. They could have negotiated for a higher cap on your liability, but you didn't. That is a very important way to, in advance with a contract, tell your business partner, this is what we're responsible for, number one, which I didn't really touch upon. We're not responsible for this, but if we are found by a court of final tribunal, which means not the trial court, but after an appeals court decides the trial court was right, if you can get that in. Oftentimes I have. And if we are found responsible for an error or not performing, this is what's available to address your claim, to pay the claim or the judgment.
So the insurance it will support liability protection, but only when the coverage matches the business actual operations. So
Yeah.
what situations tend to show a gap between the coverage and the day-to-day work?
Yeah, right. Professional liability and general liability, they're not the only commercial insurance coverages that may be needed for a company. If the company operates trucks or vehicles, you need to have a good commercial lines insurance agent or insurance agency. I'm connected with several. They know what they're doing. They have contacts with good carriers. With those trucks or cars, you need to have a it's called non-own owned and hired commercial vehicle policy, because if that truck is involved in a car accident, Lisa Mosby or Thomas LaPorte's personal auto coverage is not going to cover that. And trucks are big. They can do a lot of damage to people and property. That's an example. Internally, if you have an employee that makes a claim, say it's based on some sort of discrimination, disability, age, race, sexual harassment, your general liability is not going to cover that. So you need to be, as a business person, in connection with a knowledgeable commercial lines agent. With my clients, we have emails, we have from time to time, we get on the same page. They know what I know what I'm doing, and I know what they're doing. And the extent that we don't, well, we use each other for that. What kind of coverage does this business need? And that's why I rely upon certain reliable insurance agents and companies. So, in the case of the discrimination scenario I just put up, you would need a special policy called employment practices liability coverage. So there's different coverages with builders. They need builder's risk insurance, because if something happens while the building's under construction and causes damage from wind or whatnot, their general liability is not going to cover that. They need builder's risk. There's all sorts of different lines to cover the different activities or perils. That's what the insurance companies call them, that the business does. So you got to become knowledgeable about that.
Yes. Could you share an example from your experience where maybe a business owner believed that their personal assets were protected, but something in the way of the business was changed or not in the picture?
Yeah, I can think of three, but real quickly. I had an established company, and I was sort of shocked. One of their employees got hurt on the job, and they were really nervous because it was not an insignificant injury. And they thought they were going to have to pay out this person. I said, wait a second, who's your insurance agent? And they told me who it was. I said, and I talked to, it was a male. I talked to him, oh yeah, they got workers' compensation coverage. They just didn't know it. I had another client that didn't have it and thought that they didn't need it. They thought the general liability would cover it. No, you need workers' comp. By the way, it's a requirement under every state's law for employees. A second scenario, and I won't go into the third, was an internal claim by an employee. The client thought that the general liability would cover it, tendered to the carrier. They rejected it. And they called me, oh, what's going on? My insurance carrier is not acting in good faith. I'm like, you need an employment practice liability. If you look through your policy, which is labyrinthian, the exclusions, the exceptions, all the riders, the endorsements, you will see that it doesn't cover employment claims. You need this other type of coverage. And they may not necessarily be really expensive, but you just got to know, what types of insurances you need depending on what the company does and who is within the company. It's important. But one other thing I tell my clients is, your company's going to be a named insured. Put yourself on as an additional insured too, just in case someone still tries to sue you. Now you're covered. The insurance company now is contractually obligated to cover you too, and it doesn't cost a dime. So just another tip.
And Thomas, as we end today, I'd like you to share how people can reach out to you, and then maybe walk us through how that initial meeting would go as you're reviewing someone's business to see if they have the things that they need already set up or what they need to add.
All right. Well, thank you, Lisa. People, if they have more questions or want to drill down on something further that they may have heard today, can contact me and my team through my website, laportelawgroup.net, N-E-T. There's calendar blocks on there that they can schedule an initial 15-minute sort of intake. Or there's a link at the end of this podcast, I believe, that they can contact me through that link as well. And what we don't cover in the initial, say, intake, we will agree on a certain amount of time and what the fee might be. And we can add a lot of elucidation and light on this scenario that time. So, and go from there as necessary.
Beautiful. Yeah. And during that initial consultation, do you take the time to go through some documents, have them bring those things so that you can review what they have to make sure that they have what they need?
Yes, and I'm very upfront and transparent because we want to make that meeting productive. I think that's what you're getting at, Lisa. So I ask my clients to provide me what they believe are relevant documentations. I also, if there's a particular scenario that they're dealing with, I want them to write out a history. It doesn't have to be the Magna Carta, which is a giant document, as you know. Give me a chronology and a history and the relevant corroborating documents. Err on the side of over-inclusion. I just let them know this is going to take probably X amount of time, but I will have reviewed this, and by the time we sit down, we're talking about solutions and following up on whatever lingering questions there may be.
Beautiful. And we'll leave it there. We'll leave it there. Being proactive will save you maybe millions of dollars down the road. So folks, take advantage of this opportunity to meet with Thomas and see if your documents are all in order. And we'll leave it there today. That's it for today with the Business Law, Estate Planning, and Probate podcast. Thank you so much for listening. And please leave a review, and subscribe to the show so you don't miss our next episode. Thank you.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.